For this, I'm going to use a polyester shirt. Infusible ink only bonds to polyester, so you would want at least 50%. You could check the tags. You don't have to use Cricut brand. And I'm gonna go ahead and pre-cut. I'm just kind of adding this in here so you can kind of see the prep work I have to do before we get to the weeding. This particular box I chose came with multiple colors, and don't forget you can use the standard grip matte. And my hands were clammy when filming this, so I didn't want to ruin the infusible ink. Yes, it is very fragile. If you touch it with your wet hands, it will rub off. So here I'm just kind of pulling it out with a piece of cloth just to protect the ink portion. If your hands are completely dry and clean, then you're fine to touch the sheet. It also comes with directions. There's a web link that you can go to. And it will also come with some butcher paper. And a few polyester cloths for testing the colors, and that's what comes in the kit. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my machine. I'm going to put it on my mat, and I'm gonna roll it on because my hands are still clammy. And I put the ink side up, and don't forget to turn mirror on when you cut. Okay, now once that's done, we will unload it off the machine, and I would suggest to flip it over to get it off so it's not as rolled up on you. Of course, it will still roll up a little here, as you can see. And I'm gonna save the excess, so I'm just cutting the excess off. Infusible ink sheets can be a little pricey, so I'll try to save it when I can. When I get done cutting it, I am going to store it back in the box because if it gets wet, it's going to ruin it. So I will store it back inside the box. Alright, so now for the weeding part. Typically when weeding vinyl, this tool is used, but we don't really need that today. I would recommend some tweezers like these, but I mostly just use my fingers. I really only use the tweezers as needed. And the first thing I do is I kind of check for a good edge to start with. This is really thick, kind of like paper or like cardstock. So I kind of bend it to get an edge started, kind of like that right there, like it pokes out. It's thicker than normal vinyl. So I kind of crackle it, break it up a little bit, bend it so I can start pulling away the pieces I don't really want. It might be a little difficult at first to get a good edge started, but once you get it going, it's not as bad. And sometimes it might make some crackling noises, but that's perfectly normal. You're not hurting it. It's gonna make cracking noises. So as you could see, it was kind of difficult to get it started, but now that I got it started, it's going along. I also did want to note that I am trying to avoid touching the parts of my design that's going to go on my shirt because my hands are still a little clammy still. For some reason they were clammy on this day of filming, So I'm just trying to avoid touching the areas that are going to bond into the shirt. Now that the design is weeded, I'm going to go ahead and heat up the Cricut according to the Cricut guidelines. If you need to figure out a heat setting, definitely check this out. I'm going to link it down below. It has so much useful information. I love using it. I'm going to go ahead and prep my shirt. I do put in a liner underneath because the ink can bleed. And I don't really want it to bleed to any other areas. It's also important that your design is no bigger than your heat press because you want to do the heat press in one take. It's possible that if you try to do it again, you will smear and smudge or mess up your design because the ink, it can smear. That's it for today's video, guys. Thank you for watching, and definitely let me know what you would like to see next. Until next time.